There are four distinct approaches in interpreting Revelation. There are four ways. What are those? Let's look at number one. It's known as preterist view. That means not everyone looks at Revelation as most of us will look at. There are various different way of looking at this revelation, and people have different explanations. So what is preterist view, right? Preterist view, actually the word comes from Latin. Preterist means past. Past, that is the meaning. The preterist view interprets Revelation as symbolizing the conflict between the church and her enemies in others' own day. All right. So what they say, the events in the book of Revelation are already, those events are already taken place, happened in the past, especially at the time of writing. And using symbolic language, the author is recording events not of some future time, but basically as they were unfolding before him in his own time frame. So if John was writing, if John is the author, these events in the book of Revelation happened when John was alive. So it is past. Within this view, roughly two options are found. That means there are two groups in the preterist gang. Two groups are there. Some see the enemy as apostate Israel, and central theme as a struggle between early church and Judaism. So what you read, this war or battle, like the judgment of bowls or trumpets or whatever it is there, and all these things are a struggle between church and Judaism. Series of judgments in chapter 6 to 20 depict God's intervention to punish Israel and deliver the church. In this case, beast is Roman government. The armies are those of Rome. Armageddon refers to the fall of Jerusalem in AD 70. Right? So most of the post-millennialists, right, could actually post-millennialism is a way of saying that they don't believe. They are not amillennials. They believe that Christ will come at the end of millennial kingdom. And for example, like you have Gentry, Chilton, and other people, they all say what book of Revelation teaches. It teaches about struggle between Judaism and church in the first century, not anything future. And there is another group within this gang, is that they don't look at the enemy as Israel, they look at enemy as Rome, and identify the central theme as a struggle of Christianity against the Roman Empire. Against the Roman Empire. In this case, the judgment of the book portrays God's judging pagan Rome, culminating in the fall of Roman Empire in AD 476. Right? So the final judgment is the judgment against the Roman Empire, and that happened in AD 476. So this is the first view of the book of Revelation, known as preterist view. What is the response? Yes, preterist view has several strengths. It endeavors to relate Revelation to the historical context of the writer and the initial readers. those who read in the beginning, those 7 churches. In addition, this view appears necessary for a proper understanding of the letters to the 7 churches found in 2 and 3 chapters. So yes, that is one of the strengths. It addresses the issue, if you look at that way, yes, it is the author is addressing the issue that happened among them, right? And it also provides a good context for the 7 churches, letters written to 7 churches. Yet, by limiting interpretation of the book to author's own time, this approach is forced to treat Revelation as other than a predictive prophecy. So that means this is not a predictive prophecy. This is not a prophecy that is predicting the future of this present day world. Rather, it was a prophecy that happened at that time. In effect, renders Revelation something of a literal curiosity for subsequent generations and robs the book of having any true, long-range prophetic value. Furthermore, this approach removes any literal sense of the Lord's return, which, if the text taken at face value, appears to be a turning point of John's prophecy. If that is the case, then book of Revelation doesn't talk at all anything about Jesus coming. At all about Jesus coming. Because this has already happened. Right? Already happened. And therefore, in effort to overcome these limitations, most of preterists combine this view with one or more other views in order to allow Revelation to have significance beyond others' generation. So, if this happened already, and then there may not have any significance to us because it's already happened. So there are some people try to bring maybe a little more nuances to their views to say, yeah, there are principles that we can learn. Maybe perseverance, persevering under trials. Those kinds of lessons can be learned. That's what they would say. So this is the first view, preterist view. Second view is known as idealist view. Idealist. This is the second way of looking at the Revelation. What does this view suggest? This is also known as the spiritualist view. Spiritualist view. They interpret books as presenting timeless spiritual principles which govern the experience of the church throughout history. All right, there are spiritual principles. Prophecies are not to be taken as predictive. This is not talking about the end of the world, of any specific historical event, individual, whether past, present, and the future. They say it's not even talking about the first century, the Neronic persecution, right? It's not talking about first century persecution at all, or it's not talking about anything that will happen in the history. It is simply, there are spiritual things to learn. Symbolic language employed simply portrays continuing struggle between good and evil, between the church and the world, and assures readers the kingdom of God prevail in the end. Right? So this is a kind of, most of the amillennialist think that way. There is no millennial kingdom. Church is the kingdom, spiritual kingdom, and this is spiritual in nature. There are spiritual principles. That is the main thing. It's a struggle between church and the world, and the church at the end, church will prevail. From this perspective, series of judgments, the book depict God's judging sinners down through the ages. The beast refers to all pagan empires. Look at that one. Beast refers to all pagan empires and rulers throughout history. And millennium is not a future event, but a description of the church age in its entirety. So the millennium is the church. This view is reflected in Augustine's City of God, and it's popular among all millennialists. Henriksen, who came a house and kissed maker, they all believe this theory, idealist view. There is not talking about anything historical things, rather represents throughout the history, the struggle between church and the world. Response? In terms of its strength, this view correctly sees cosmic dimensions of the conflict depicted in the book and takes seriously symbolism used by the author. Yeah, they try to come up the tension between struggle between church and the world is taken really well. And in addition, it recognized the importance of applying truths recorded in the text. Succeeding generation of readers, not historical, but anyone can apply all the things that is recorded in this book. So it's not a predictive prophecy again. Predictive prophecy. It's not predictive prophecy. However, problem with this view, by divorcing the prophecy from its historical context, this approach jeopardizes any objective basis for interpretation and renders its own conclusions suspect. Yes, what it does, it jeopardizes any objective basis for interpretation. If it is simply only spiritual matters, like it is not talking about anything that is happening in the world in reality, then there is a real issue. Furthermore, it too represents a denial of the true prophetic character of Revelation. In a sense, they're saying this is not a prophetical book. But if you look at, John just explains the opposite. John identifies his writing as a prophecy. John told, we will see that as we go through, and describes what appear to be future events involving literal individuals engaged in actual and real activities. Right? So John is saying this is prophecy. And therefore, ultimately, this approach is incompatible with the historical grammatical method of interpretation. If that is the interpretation we follow, then this is wrong. So we looked at the first one as preterist view.